iPads are useful for their purpose, but they are no substitute for brains.
All right, here we go.
I have to say, well done, Ray. Well done. Well played, my adversary. Well played.
Phoenix isn't gay, but if he was, he'd pick Fremo.
Oh yeah, he'd be living down there with you in the bunker, man. Woo!
Once you go free, you always do the Z.
Like one day I'm not going to Duncan and you could get a controller, a new Xbox, possibly even a cord.
And now the group that can't count its nuts and come up with the same number twice.
Welcome to BGFG, episode 455. I'm your host, Chris Phoenix, and joining me, as always, my brother from another mother, Mr. Fremo Z. How are you doing this week, sir?
I'm doing quite well, thank you.
I just want to touch on something real quick, because I didn't put it in the show notes. Because
yeah, easy. You got in trouble last time you touched on something real quick.
Yeah, HR knows me by name. Bob Newhart passed away this week. Now, again, I didn't really put it in the show notes because there's so many people that don't remember who this is. You have to be an elder of Gen X to remember Bob Newhart. And he did live to a spry, 90-something years old. I mean, it was a miracle he lived that long.
Is his brother Daryl still around?
Which one? Daryl? Daryl?
Brother Daryl.
Or his other brother Daryl? See, only older Gen X people are going to get that joke. Yeah. It was a good joke, Free. Really good joke. So your week is going well, partially, I'm guessing, which we'll get into in the first part of this week's news. Because
great, fantastic.
Oh, I can't wait to hear this. All right, let's get to the news because this is going
to have to be offline, but yeah,
it's going to be good. BGFG News. You heard it here. So first up, let's talk about what happened this week. The Y2K24.
Right.
There was a major Windows outage. And this was felt everywhere. My company was completely down. Was yours?
Nope.
Okay, good. We'll get to that in a second. And what happened, it was all because of a faulty update in a cybersecurity provider called Crowstrike. An update to its Falcon sensor program, and it was global. Started in Australia, and as it moved through the world, people were like, wait a minute, something ain't going right here. This is more than just an isolated incident. I've used Crowstrike before when I worked IT at a bank, and it is, the easiest way to say it is it's an correct me if I'm wrong, Free. It's an antivirus at the server level, way up higher than users.
Well, yeah,
correct?
I mean, essentially you have one point of management with it, and then it pushes out to your endpoint. So it's an endpoint management system.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of having to update every computer with the latest virus definitions, it handles it. Basically you register a client on all your endpoints, all your laptops, computers, whatever, and they are managed by that central server.
And endpoints are essentially what we use, like what the what the person at the desk or remotely works on. That's the endpoint.
Yeah, tablet, desktop, laptop, phone, whatever. So
this impacted banks, airlines, TV broadcasters, supermarkets, and so much more. Again, it's one of these things that people don't realize how big it impacts. The update was a global update to their service, and it started in Australia, like I said, with airlines and banks. Then it spread to the UK, where Sky News couldn't even broadcast, which I thought was also quite funny. Crowstrike was quick to comment, though, that they were working on it, and it is not a cyber attack, because of course that's what every conspiracy theorist, people talk to us, email us and stuff, and say that we're conspiracy theorists. We haven't even launched Subtopia Null, which we've been trying to do for years, but they still say that we're conspiracy theorists. It's not. We're not conspiracy theorists.
There's a rumor that show's going to happen.
It will eventually. God, it's so weird with that show because we both want to do it, but yet we never do it. And I have so much data for
We're
that.
afraid of getting killed.
Or audited by by the IRS. But back to what we were saying, it wasn't a cyber attack, and everybody was jumping on that at the beginning, saying this is the world ender. And it wasn't. The root cause appears to be an update to the kernel level driver that secures Windows machines. And the workaround was booting infected Windows machines into safe mode and removing the CrowdStrike file with a certain numeric code that was in a folder, and it happened to be part of the System32 folder, which is an old. Stop laughing.
Can you imagine?
It's
Can
an
you
old.
imagine sitting there as an IT manager, and everybody, all the other directors and VPs and CEO and everybody is looking at you like, how are we going to fix this? How are we going to fix this? And you're like just banging your head against the wall, and then you get the alert. CrowdStrike's, release an update on how to fix this, and you're like, what? This has got to be a joke.
Right. One file. That's great. Except
It's in the System32 folder, which is a no-no you don't ever touch.
right. And this is, and just to give people background, those of us that are old enough, the Gen Xers that have been in IT or on the internet for a long time, this was a running joke. We used to do something similar with Xbox, where we would tell people to hit certain button combinations real quick. That's how I was going to fix it, and it would actually shut off their Xbox and bounce them out of the game. It was a great prank, but then at the same time, you had people on the internet that would just post something in a comment to somebody else that had a problem and would say, yeah, just delete your System32 folder. It's probably riddled with malware. Just go ahead and delete that and restart your computer. And there was a good possibility your computer wouldn't restart. The problem here was that when the computers...
This has got roots all the way back to DOS, where you're like, put in CD ... until all you see is C:, and then type array star / whatever the flags were for directories and subdirectories.
What was the F one? Was it F for
F-disk?
F-disk. Okay, we should stop talking to people about this. We're gonna get fucking hate mail coming out of our ass.
That's gonna give me some hate mail.
So the problem here with the CrowdStrike thing was that when the computer is already down or it's a cloud server, you can't reach it. And the same thing with remote workers.
This is literally a hands-on.
Yep.
Someone has to physically touch every machine.
Because you can't dial into it. And the remote workers, I got
to tell you, somebody that's lived through some of those baptism by fires, that is not fun.
No, it's not.
You need to, if you're not already back up and running, just leave your IT people alone. They're aware. They're working on it. They don't need 15 emails and phone calls and text messages from every employee about, my computer ain't working. They already know.
Yeah.
Just let them work on it. They'll get to you when they get to you.
I had a interview at a job that I didn't get that was completely remote.
I literally snapped my flip phone in half one time when I was going through one of these situations where it was have to touch every computer physically. And it was just constant. And I was just like, oh. And then got back to work. I felt so much better.
Yeah, I bet you did.
I became extremely productive at that point.
But then, like an insult to injury, Windows had an issue with 365 apps and services in the background after all this happened. Like it wasn't even part of that problem. Those were caused by a configuration issue in Azure backend workloads. And Azure is kind of like the cloud version, and what Microsoft is moving Active Directory and everything else to. It is purely cloud-based. Look, while offsite cloud-based services are great, this is what happens when things go sideways, though. There's a great, and I posted it in the show notes. There's a great op-ed from Stephen Vaughn.
If you're a company that has moved your entire network infrastructure, for lack of a better term, to the cloud, and something like this happens, you got no control.
None. How did your business
fix it till the cloud is back?
How did your business fare?
Oh, we don't use CrowdStrike at all.
Oh, right. So you had no problems at all.
None.
Brilliant.
No issues.
The bank that I used to work at, I'd love to find out. Like, I don't even know anybody that works there anymore, but I'd love to find out how they made out because they use CrowdStrike like a mother.
Yeah.
It's just, oh,
Well,
but
you
there's
know, there's something to be said about. I mean, this is a great learning opportunity for anyone in IT that got hit with this. That's at a level that can make some decisions.
okay.
Vet every update before you implement it.
Absolutely. Well, I
Okay?
mean, how could that?
You should. It's simple.
No. I
It's
mean, you
simple.
and I know how simple it is to do it on our level, but how are you gonna do that on the CrowdStrike level when it's a forced update that's automated?
No, you can have your updates set to where they don't deploy until you release them.
What do? Dump them to like a virtual box?
Yeah, you run it on a test
Oh,
machine.
Right.
I mean, it's not hard.
That's true.
You
That's a
just
good
update
point.
it on a test machine, see what happens, and then release it.
That's a good point because most
I mean,
of
you
the
can do it
time,
on a virtual machine.
most businesses will utilize like a laptop for remote workers. They'll use the same laptop, which is the smart idea. I've interviewed for a few that have, we have mixed laptops out there. That's a fucking bad idea. If you have one consistent laptop that you use with the same configurations, then what Freemo was saying is actually quite easy to do. You know, you put it on a virtual box, you put it on one or two test laptops that you have in the building, just to see if it works and there's no issues. So I agree with you on that one. But one of the things I posted was a great op-ed from Stephen Vaughn Nichols on Computer World. And it was funny because Stephen compared the CrowdStrike issue to the boll weevil and the Cavendish bananas. So, so to
And have
explain
you
to...
noticed, speaking of the bananas, have you noticed, do you buy bananas on a regular basis?
I do.
Have you noticed that they don't look anywhere near as good as they used to?
No, they don't.
It ain't gonna do nothing but get worse. And
Yeah.
we talked about this like a long time ago. But
Right.
Anyway.
So after the Civil War, the South became dependent on cotton. Then the boll weevils came in and destroyed the South's only cash crop. Half of the and that like that's what
True
made
story.
them. That's what made them turn to like other cotton, tobacco, and other resources because they couldn't. I mean, that'll kill an
Peanuts.
entire peanuts. Half of the bananas that Freemo was talking about, half of the bananas in the store that you see are Cavendish bananas, and they're being devastated by fusarism wilt, which is a fungus that's destroying the bananas to extinction.
And they can't, and there's nothing you can do once this fungus gets into the area where
Is among us.
bananas are grown. Yeah, once that fungus is among us, it's over.
It's nothing.
You can't do anything except destroy the entire crop. You can't regrow bananas on that land.
No.
You're done.
And as for Windows is everywhere, and CrowdStrike is the go-to server level security for large businesses.
Yeah, probably 25% roughly of large corporations use CrowdStrike.
Yeah, I would
But
agree.
a little known fact about the boll weevil: there's a town in South Alabama, Enterprise, Alabama,
Okay.
that has in their town center a
Yeah.
statue with a boll weevil.
Really?
Yeah, because they
Why?
became the peanut capital of the South. Like they transitioned
From cotton to
to peanuts because they had to, and so they pay homage to the boll weevil because they became very successful.
So
They were no longer in the cotton competition.
So there is alternatives to Windows, and I think it's funny that according to this op-ed and analysis of Google search data, online searches for Windows alternatives was up by 290%. People are searching for things like Debian, Mac OS, Linux, Ubuntu, and these are viable. Like Freemo and I will tell you from old school IT, Linux is kind of the way to go for most things.
Ubuntu is really good too for the.
It's
server
got a small footprint. It'll handle all your back-end server issues. It's not a bad choice. And Mac OS is right there near it for server level, though I don't, as a Mac person, I'll be the first one to say that older Macs have a server function, which isn't around anymore. That was really robust and nice. And it was based on Unix, which is a Linux alternative, which was really good, but they don't really do that anymore. So in a similar story, AT&T's breach, we found out now that it was from RCS compliance. Now, RCS protocol, which stands for Rich Communication Services, was designed to replace SMS messaging, which we've known and loved for decades. It has phone book polling, richer text messages, larger attachments like pictures. It extends carrier limits, read receipts. This is to combat things like WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, Viber, Telegram, WeChat, and most of all, iMessage. Now, Google embraced RCS a while ago, and as we talked about on the show before, Android is simply not as secure as Apple. It's just not. And RCS is one of the many reasons why. The main reason is that RCS doesn't employ end-to-end encryption. It just doesn't. So anything can go there. Now you add the fact that side loading on the Android platform, that just creates a problem on many levels. And this is how AT&T's breach got started.
This is the world we live in, because everyone wanted to be able to do more with their text messaging. So we ended up with RCS, so much so that now Apple's doing it. Even though, like you just said, for all the reasons that it actually shouldn't be used, it doesn't matter because everybody's screaming, we want it, we want it, we want it.
Exactly.
So in the words of Marie Antoinette, let them have their cake and eat it too.
And this is a problem that we've pointed out before, and it's the greed as well as the shareholders' demands. Because even if they know it's wrong, Apple was kind of pressured to do the side loading in the UK. They were pressured to do RCS, and look where it's gotten of us. You know, there's breaches like this is
a classic example of why true democracy, is bad.
Yeah, I know what you mean though. But
true democracy is majority rule. So if you have 100 people and 51 of them agree on something, then that's just the way it goes.
Correct.
And tomorrow, if a different 51 agree about something else, or some people change their mind, and the people that were the 49 are now the 51, retribution, but hey, whatever the people want, regardless of how stupid it may be.
A lot of stories this week revolve around that greed and that, we've stepped back on this show of talking about all the breaches. There is literally so many now that it just becomes
there are so many that it's going to bolster the United States Postal Service because of all the letters that have to be sent now every time something like this happens, and you have to be sent a notification by whoever was breached, and then you get a letter from whoever the third party is that they're using to offer identity management, theft, credit monitoring, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, I mean, millions and millions and millions of pieces of paper that are getting mailed now.
And we've talked about on the show before with the breaches. We're hearing about the breaches like 3 to 6 months after.
The post office is behind some of this.
The breaches
trying to live up to my conspiracy theory reputation.
Thank you. The breaches happen, and then we hear about them later because they need to investigate them and capture the people that are perpetrating them before the public knows, or else they're just going to back out and hide their tracks. So it's definitely an issue. It has been, and it's going to be for a while. Finally, this week, like we were talking about, we talked about the MGM breach a while ago. And we see he's already giggling because we've made jokes about it, that someone with like a cool name like the Freezer, the Fixer, or the Nose is going to come to your house and find you because you just with their money at the casino. Well, it turns out it was a 17-year-old kid from the UK. So I don't know exactly how they're going to deal with that, really. This was a joint investigation between the FBI and the UK's National Crime Agency. The statement to the press also stated that this kid was part of a cybercrime organization, the Black Cat Ransom Group, which is known to be a problem. Why they don't crap down on them, I have no idea. The attack happened initially on September 12th of last year, and this is what I love. This is my favorite part of the story, and we shouldn't be laughing and pointing it out. But this hack was done with a simple call to the help desk. They were pretending to be a high-level employee. They found all the information they needed on LinkedIn, and they just social engineered at its best. Just social engineered the shit out of that phone call. Brilliant. On an attack standpoint, brilliant because you can't fix fucking stupid. You can't fix stupid.
You got that guy on the line, and he's talking with the English accent, so the help desk person's like, "Man, this guy must be somebody important," you know. Just completely falls for it. It's just it's funny. It's funny.
It is.
I
Funny.
wish somebody would call me and try to do something like that to me. Like, oh, really? Yeah. Okay, let's get connected. Let's get our computers talking.
I had a guy.
Absolutely.
I had a guy come in to my work, and I've never seen so many remote access pieces of software on their computer. And they're like, yeah, I've been having weird problems with my computer for like 6 months. I mean, they had Team Viewer, Ultra Viewer, Remote Viewer. They had a shortcut to the Windows one. They had the shortcut to the Windows one on the desktop. Yeah, which is so far in the back of the operating system that usually you only get that when you call the help desk for Microsoft. Like, there was so many, and I'm like, dude, stop clicking on shit. He's like, how can I prevent that? And I just looked him dead in the face. Instead of being all politically correct and businesslike, I'm like, stop clicking on things. Just stop clicking on things. That's your best bet.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into this week's music because this is going to be kind of a good one. So I didn't even know this band existed, but I'm loving this band now. This band was, yes. This band, why, you heard about that before?
Yeah.
Son of a bitch. So this band was formed in 1998 by Jesse Hughes on guitar and Josh Holmes of Queens of the Stone Age fame on drums, of all things. They're the two core members, and they basically add and remove musicians as they want, as they see fit, wherever they're playing. They'll just hire some local musicians. The song that they're doing, one of the most misheard lyrics of this song is actually revving up like a deuce in the middle of the night, which is a reference to a car and blah, blah, blah. But I thought it was great that in this song, you're going to hear them actually say rev up like a douche. And I think it's great. And they're obviously talking directly to Fremo. So it's...
But yeah, no, this song is off the Super Troopers 2 soundtrack.
Which is a great movie. If you haven't seen Super
that's
Troopers...
that's how I heard of them. I mean,
I
I watched the movie. I was like, who did that rendition? Look it up. Oh, okay. You know.
That works.
Let's see what else they've got.
Right. The band is called Eagles of Death.
Definitely didn't expect to see this band name with that song title.
Right. So the band's called Eagles of Death Metal, and they're not death metal. They're more like a hillbilly meets rock and roll meets, I don't know, The Clash. It's really unique. Their stage show is supposed to be really, really good. This song is called Blinded by the Light, which is a classic. You know, we got about 4.5 minutes. We're going to enjoy it and just enjoy the song. And we'll catch you on the other side for some stick style news and more wonderful Windows bullshit. I love the at the end. So yeah, that's a great song. I love the fact that they said revved up like a douche and they emphasized it. Really good shit. All right, let's get into something a little bit more fun. But first, it is hot as hell down here in the studio. The machine is just working. I am having a cool Modelo right now. I know you got someplace you might have to be later. So are you drinking?
Yeah. And unfortunately, apparently the beers that I had in there, some others decided to take it upon themselves to relieve me of them. And this was the only thing I could find.
Oh, what do you got?
I'm not even sure I'm going to crack the top on this.
Really? What is it? What the hell is that?
I don't know if I can get it to focus.
Oh my God.
Simply Spiked. I don't know. It doesn't say seltzer. If it's seltzer, I'm not even going to bother. But apparently it's some kind of fruit drink. It's 5% alcohol. So
should be worth a while. Oh, well.
All right. Here's to nothing.
It didn't even make a sound.
I don't even know where this came from. Like nobody here would buy this.
Well, here's to you, my friend. And
I know we had
seeing...
some visitors that came by this week and hung out with the kids for a little bit, so maybe they left it.
Well,
But
here's to
anyway.
you. Oh, it's refreshing. Well,
That's got a good flavor.
really?
Kiwi peach?
Oh, kiwi peach could be nice. That's not too shabby right there.
Yeah, it's got a nice, I mean, you get like the peach on the front end and then the kiwi on the back end. Like the peach is the stronger, but then you get the kiwi. And there's no bitter aftertaste like a lot of these type drinks have.
Oh, that's good.
So,
Okay. Let's get into stick style.
made with real fruit juice. So it's healthy.
So you're healthy.
And buzzed.
Gaming.
So first up in stick style, we're going to talk about Bethesda, one of our favorites here.
Get out of these, but
It's good for you in a pinch.
change of pace. Anyway,
Bethesda, one of our favorites here. A lot of good games out of Bethesda. They're unionizing.
what kind of games do they make?
Well, they make several.
For those who may not be familiar.
They do a lot. Like they have an upcoming Blade game that's supposed to be coming out. It's really good. You know what their really popular game right now is though? Starfield.
Good. So like Fallout, Elder Scrolls.
Yeah.
So they do these big open world, like
Yes.
RPG, whatever.
Yeah,
Okay.
and they do. All kidding aside, they do really well with these games. I think it's a great gaming company, and they finally unionized. There's always talk of getting a union involved, and with all the layoffs and shit that have been going on in the gaming industry, it's nice to see that they took a stand. Now, I've been part of a union before. It's good and bad. The good is that you get equal pay, protection against bad bosses. The bad is that the union dues can get expensive sometimes, and the idiots that you work with seem to maintain their jobs consistently. Like, I know of people.
The two downsides that I see in the modern union, if you will, the way unions are today,
Yeah.
is it's damn near impossible to get rid of idiots
Oh my gosh.
and seniority preference over promotions.
Yep. I never liked the fact
Because if you've got seniority, chances are you'll get the job unless you just don't want it and you don't put in for it.
Right.
And I see a lot of that happening, like in different aspects of our company where they do have unionized labor, and you got someone who absolutely would nail the job, be great at it, but somebody else has been there for a year longer and they get it. And a lot of failing upwards just because.
Yeah. And that's see, in my job, it's a lot of friends and no friends, but that's for another conversation. But it's nice to see that in the gaming community, we have a little bit of unionization. That way, this shit doesn't happen.
You know who will never unionize?
Who?
And it's not because they don't want to.
Uh-huh.
They just don't have the life expectancy to carry it out.
Who?
Helldivers.
Well played. Well played. But it is nice to see in the gaming community because with all the layoffs, like people, it seems that these gaming companies are lately the trend is, okay, we're finished with the game. How many people do we need to maintain it for the next 2 years that we're going to keep updates going? Oh, only half the team? Then we're going to lay off the other half. And I think that's kind of shitty. Having a union is going to be nice. And we here at Stick Style love some Bethesda. It gives them better leverage to negotiate with Microsoft, the parent company. And it's about time this happened. It's a good thing, people. It's a good thing. Now, moving on, you know how much I love me some controllers. It's behind me. That's not even all of them. I have controllers everywhere. I have my 20th anniversary go-to one that I use all the time. I mean, I have some controllers. And
I mean, I hate to keep interrupting the show to reference this string.
Really?
But
you already got a buzz.
I feel like I want to paint my fingernails now.
Oh my God, that is fucking... We're getting hate mail.
Oh, that's gonna give me some hate mail.
Now, you all know how much I love controllers. There's a new Deadpool controller. And the picture in the show notes will add to it some justice. And it's exactly what you think it would look like. It's got the same pattern and texture that Deadpool has on his suit, which is very cool.
Well, it's exactly what you would think when looking at the controller from the top down.
Let me put it this way. It's exactly what you think if Wade Wilson was in charge of making this controller. It's perfect. It's like I said, it's got the same pattern and texture that he has on his suit, except for the back. The back looks like his ass, which I think is so awesome. They're calling it the cheeky controller. Unfortunately, you cannot buy it right now. It's going to be at 1 of 1, and it's available in the sweepstakes. You'll get the controller and a reskinned Xbox Series X. You can follow Xbox on X, formerly Twitter, and repost to register. So it's only going to be one shot. So good luck getting it. But I thought it was very interesting, the shape of the controller, because when you see the picture, whether you click on the show link or you're watching this video on YouTube right now, the picture itself will make you laugh.
Oh, I think it's brilliant, and I think really they should make more than these. They should, you should be able to reserve one, put a deposit down to show that you're serious, and then they manufacture it and send it to you, kind of a deal. I mean, I get not going out and making 10,000 of these because whatever. I'm pretty sure they would all sell, but okay.
Yeah, but this is if we did
here's my
that.
question: since this is literally going to be a one-off,
Yep.
is Ryan Reynolds going to pay security for the person that wins this thing?
Oh. See, for me, like I'm a controller person, so I'd keep it.
I
But
guarantee you, whoever ends up with this thing is going to get some harassment from people that really damn want it.
Right. And I was just going to say that. Like, I'm a controller person. I would want it for my collection, which is great. But the idea of if I was a controller person, I did win it, man, flipping this thing is going to be insane money. Because you're getting that Xbox reskinned Xbox Series X with it, with the same fabric, except it's going to have 2 foam swords on the back. So it's definitely going to be a collectible. One of the other things nostalgia-wise that's coming out is, and I thought this was cool. I think you'll appreciate this. Xbox has added a new dynamic background. We've talked about dynamic backgrounds before. If you buy a limited edition controller, like I have some back here, I have some over there, you get a dynamic background that moves and stuff like that. Basically, it looks exactly like the controller. Well, Xbox is bringing back the blades from the 360. If you've been gaming long enough, the original Xbox 360 background, we love the blades. We love the blades. It was one of the pinnacles, I think, of Xbox Live. I thought it was well laid out. Freemo, we've talked about this before, right?
Yeah, I absolutely freaking can't stand that they ever moved away from it, but you're wrong saying that I would like this, because all this does is keep me in a state of constant anger over the fact that I can't have this anymore. So no, I will not be putting this background on my Xbox.
We've said before, Xbox, you have a shitty UI compared to PlayStation. You want to improve it? Here's an idea. Take all the old ones that you had, the original Xbox, the Xbox 360, the Xbox One, all those different iterations of the main screen, and just give us those options as a theme. We'll love it. Like, we'll never have a problem with it. Even if like, say, the Blades one has some features that aren't there in the latest up-to-date Series X one. We'll accept that and deal with it, because the blades are so cool. Now you can get them as a dynamic background, but like Freemo said, there's no action on it. You can't flip through it, but it does look a little cool. And how you get to it is you go to your settings on your Xbox, profile and system.
I still think they ought to have the original boot screen.
Oh, I'm going to get to that in a second. I'll get to that in a second. So you go to settings, profile and system, and under the general tab, you go to personalization. Go to my background, dynamic backgrounds, and then under featured tabs, you choose the 360 blades. So that's pretty cool. And speaking of the nostalgia, which Freemo was just alluding to, Hyperkin, another company that we love here. They're the makers of one of my favorite controllers. I have it right back there behind me, is the Duke controller. The Duke controller is for people with mitts the size of mine. That it was a really big controller, the original Xbox controller. It's huge. It fits my hands perfectly, which I love.
I love it.
Yeah. And when you it's wired, but when you press the center button, you got that splash screen that Fremo's talking about from the original Xbox on the little LCD button that's in the center. With the and it's like when you hear it, you can hear the and then the Xbox logo appears. You can hear that when you hit the button on the original Duke controller. Now they're reissuing the Duchess. The Duchess is the second controller that they use for the 360. It's also wired, but it's got all the same feels. It's $50. And the reason why you're seeing a lot of these Xbox 360 type gimmicks is because the Xbox 360 game store is closing down. We talked about it before. You know, if you can get in there and get whatever games you want that are cross-platform, but the game store is closing down. And it's sad to see because I think, I don't know, let me throw this out there and see how you feel. I think, and let me finish, I think that the pinnacle of the Xbox interface and usability was the 360. Not hardware, not games. There's better games now. There's better hardware now. But the pinnacle of the UI was the 360. The blades, they were easy to use. Everything worked flawlessly all the time. There wasn't loading, screens not showing up, shit like that. And it's sad to see that go because you want to be able to utilize that. And I still say, and I think Freeman would agree, that Microsoft, you're missing an opportunity on a lot of money. Really. Because if you charged us, themes, like $20 for a theme, Xbox 360, $20 for the original Xbox theme, you're going to make that money because people that are Gen Xers, that are OGs, are going to buy these just for the nostalgia and be able to utilize it easily and quickly. I mean, if you've never seen the blades in action, go to YouTube, take a look at the blades interface and see how easy it was to use. It was just stupid easy. You hit that Xbox button and you had 3 or 4, 5 blades to go through.
Yeah.
And you were able to find things easily. It was well worth it. Don't you agree?
I do agree. That's
Oh,
why I said I'm not going to put this dynamic background on because it just makes me
pissed off,
mad that I can't have it no more.
Fremo's mad. And lastly, this week, and I can't believe I'm about to say this. It just breaks my heart. Give me a second because I gotta really not get lit and angry.
You know who would never do this on their platform?
Who?
Elon.
He wouldn't. So Meta, formerly Facebook,
because he's more focused with getting us to put fields on like Mars and
right,
go see the closest stars. He's all about stars and fields.
You mean like Starfields? Mike is gonna be so pissed.
Does he know that I do this solely for him?
Yes, I've actually
find ways
responded
to
to
work in to find ways to work in the words Starfield and Helldivers.
Oh, that's priceless. So Meta, formerly Facebook, will soon let kids, and this is really I want our Gen X gamers to really focus on this. Even if you're not Gen X, focus on this for a second. Meta, formerly Facebook, will soon let kids aged 10 to 12 interact with others on VR. They haven't let that happen before because it's mostly like parental control and legal age, things like that. Parents' approval, of course, is going to be active. Yeah, that should friggin' work. Does no one see the problem here? Up until now, children weren't even able to chat or interact with others on VR on their platform at all. And now parents...
I mean, okay, here's the thing.
Uh-huh.
Should they, as a socially responsible company, move forward with this? All right. I'm not going to answer that one way or the other. That's for them to decide.
No, they're going to come out free. They're going to come out.
I do
didn't steal cable. I never
If
pulled the tag off
if
that
as
cable.
a society
Had
we
my
deem that
hand placed in it when I got
inappropriate,
there.
then there should be penalties for doing so.
But
But
it's bull-
ultimately, this comes back, and you and I both said this many, many, many times. This ultimately will come down to the parents actually being parents.
That doesn't fucking happen.
I know, and that's the problem.
So I've had this
Give me a
past couple of-
task force, and I will train parents better.
Oh my God, here we go. So I've had multiple people come to my counter that
you want a
wanted,
kid? Welcome to the Free Mosey School of Parenting.
because I'm on
Before
the
you're
last.
allowed to have your child, you will have to complete this course with 100%
Oh my God.
satisfaction.
That would be epic and perfect. Because I've had multiple people come to my counter recently, and I've had to talk to them. And because this is my last stint at my job,
I had to talk to them.
I had to get real with them, I should say, because this is my last stint at my job. And when I leave here, I'm leaving for good. And believe me, you're going to want to listen to that podcast when I drop the dime on these people. But the people that come to my counter want to create a established parental control for their kids online. Number one, it is ridiculously difficult to do in their aspect. No company is doing a foolproof plan. Maybe Disney with their one-off of their router and the blacklist whitelist thing, but a blacklist whitelist, you need to be like in Fremo and my level to be able to put a whitelist and blacklist on your router in your home. Like, this is not something you're going to click a button and do. So the delusion that I've had to explain to people, I got the second or third one that I had in the past couple of weeks. I actually sat down, looked dead at them. And when they said, well, I said, I can't make this happen the way you want it to. Well, what do? Shut off their computer, make them go outside. They just looked at me like appalled. They're like, really? I'm like, yes, the internet is a wild west. You cannot stop this sort of thing. It's everywhere. And the fact that parents have to
I want to come out with an app called BAP. BAP.
Uh-huh.
And anytime someone has a question on technology about how to, set technology up to better protect their kids, they can go to BAP. BAP.
Uh-huh.
And when you open the app, it just a very, like a red blinking and black flashing screen, and in big letters, it just says, "Be a parent."
Oh, that's gonna give me some hate mail.
Oh, that's great. But right now, it's like I try to explain to these people, like, Johnny, let them know that you have column A, column B, and column C. You can have fast internet, you can have complete anonymity, or you can have wide open internet. Like, that's all you have for these kids, because I've explained to these people, I'm like, they're going to do everything they can to circumvent it. And they'll succeed because they're friends. It's like a hive mind with kids. When I worked at IT at a school department, I spent my entire day was break fix. I send them out to be repaired. But the rest of my day was entirely trying to stop them from going to any social media on the school account. And they were finding inventive ways to do it, like really inventive ways. And so with this VR thing, the parents will be able to approve the individual contact that their child can talk and interact with. Meta's hoping that this will open up the platform and allow younger users to become familiar with technology. Oh, yeah, sure it will. 100%. They're going to actually find a way to circumvent that as well. So little Johnny is going to be able to find somebody that's going to act as a parent or circumvent their protocols or their passwords to be able to allow this. So stay tuned to this program on BGFG to watch all the lawsuits that are going to come out of this. It's inevitable. It's just going to happen.
Put a marker in.
Yeah, legit.
No, seriously, because you're going to want to edit this next part out.
Oh God, what?
This is never mind. I'll save it for after the show. We're streaming live, so I don't want to get you kicked off, deplatformed.
No, God, I don't care. Go ahead. Like, I don't care.
It's freaking pedo's wet dream right here.
Right. Yes. It is a pedophile's wet dream. They're going to just, oh my gosh, dude. They're going to just jump all over this. Hey, Johnny, here's how you circumvent this. Ask your parents for the password for A, B, and C. It's probably the same password. Try all three. When you get it, just add me.
Yeah.
Oh, it's going to be bad. It's good. Let's get into this week's. You and I could go on this rant for like an hour. So let's get into this week's For What It's Worth. Or actually, tech news. And we're going to really kind of piss more people off. Ooh, that whiskey is good. So let's just talk about Windows data collection. And this is a problem that people don't realize, and it's gotten worse with we found a way to bypass, us IT people found a way to bypass the Windows login feature when you first buy a computer. And even though it's bypassed, you still have a bunch of things that you need to accept in order to utilize Windows. And a lot of it is data collection. Now, let me start off by saying that Fremo and I will be the first people to tell you that not all data collection is bad. Not all of it. Because that data collection actually works and is worthwhile in a lot of different scenarios. But a lot of it is not. Or a lot of it is some stuff that you may not want to authorize. But with Windows, it's required to use their products. And that's kind of expected, but let me explain some of the things it's going to look at. It's going to look at the machine you're on. It's going to look at the versions of Windows that you have. It's going to look at diagnostic data. It's going to look at error reporting. It's going to look at those are to be expected. That's normal operating procedure. They want to know how many people are on Windows 10, how many people are on Windows 11, how many people signed up for Microsoft 365, how many people did not. How many people are using
here's
antivirus?
The thing. Anybody that has, in fact, you can go back to Windows 10 for sure. I'm trying to think. It's been so long since I've installed a 7. I'd have to do it again.
Oh, no.
Definitely in 10. When you're setting it up and you log in the first time.
Yeah.
Right? And it comes up with these little blue screens, and some of them have, skip, yes, whatever. Do you want to use Cortana?
Right.
Blah, blah, blah. And then there's a screen that pops up with all these options and these toggle switches for off or on. And you're just kind of like looking at it like, what? Do you want your location on? Do you want data collection? Do you want tailored experiences? Do you want blah, 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 blah? Turn all that off.
Right.
From the get-go. All of it off from the get-go. And then turn on what you need as you find
something's not working.
Oh, I do want this.
Yeah.
Or I don't want,
Right.
But I mean, it's ridiculous the amount of.
So
we've been saying it for years. Data is the new
commerce.
Is the new gold. Data is the new gold. 100 years ago, 200 years ago, if you had gold, you could be in power, you could be in control. Now it's data. The more data you have, the more control you can exert and the more power you have.
If you're buying something for free, and we're going to go on this later, but if you're getting something for free, you are the commodity. You are the product. So, like we said, there's some stuff that the data that Microsoft, look, Linux does it too. Linux requires you to opt into like a database where it's telling how many people have this actual operating system or how many different packages you've downloaded and stuff, and that's great. But optional data is different, like browser history and search terms, connected devices, typing and transcriptions. Everything you type in transcriptions can be sent back. Voice commands, product and service usage, location data. There's an argument to be made for if that info is even needed or not. But because you are the commodity, that's basically what it comes down to. And speaking of data mining, there's currently a lot of talk about AI data mining. And this article really kind of hit me in the feels. For years, people don't even realize, for years, people, companies have been scraping the internet for data to use on their AI projects. But in the past year, companies and platforms have begun restricting AI access because they realize that, hey, how come I'm not making money at you scraping my data? And there's an argument I'll bring up in a minute that can be said for that. But because of security and the fact that they're building their own databases for their own platforms, for their own benefit, it's become a like, hey, we're going to block that. We're not going to do AI. Well, they've already got enough data. It's bad enough that they're mostly scraping social media, which Fremont and I've talked about on the show before. That social media scraping that they're doing is just bullshit. It's really bullshit.
If you're gonna build an artificial intelligence, do you really want to teach it how to be stupid?
Right.
I mean, come on.
I mean, it's either fake news or complete bullshit stories that they're gleaning out of this. And we find out that companies like Apple, NVIDIA, and a few other companies were scraping transcripts from YouTube. Fremo, transcripts from YouTube. That's not a bad thing, right?
Hopefully they grab ours because then they'll learn something.
Oh, I don't know about that. They were gleaning from like YouTube. And yeah, you'd hope that, right? But they scrape channels
why do you think I keep putting the words, the phrase, just give Fremo a task force? Eventually that's going to worm its way into the algorithms, and one day AI is going to be like, we don't know what to do, and then it's going to come up with this brilliant idea. Give Fremo a task force.
So they're scraping channels like Marquise Brownlee, who's brilliant, I think. New York Times, BBC, ABC News. That's okay, right? That's news. You're gleaning the good things. But then they're also gleaning, like, they're also scraping Mr. Beast, PewDiePie, Pokimane, and many more like that. Like, what the fuck are you actually doing? These people are looking for hits on their YouTube page. That's all they're doing. And why would you scrape them?
To decide what the ultimate thing is,
right?
To get everyone on board,
right? And they're looking for their cut. Like, hey, if you're scraping my channel, how come I'm not getting paid for this?
Yeah.
So there's an argument that things that are scraped on YouTube, as well as the open internet, are public, and that's fair game. So I don't disagree with that argument. Like, the open internet is the open internet. If you're on the subscriber wall or a paid for wall, wall garden, then I agree. You shouldn't be scraped because that's a paid service. But if you're open internet and you have that out there, then come on, man, that's fair game.
If you are putting it in the public domain, then it's public domain.
Correct. You're not going to get paid for it. And the takeaway here, I truly feel, is that we can all hope that they haven't scraped our show. Any of our shows. That's a bad idea.
Why? And albeit very rare moments of pure genius that we have could be very beneficial to AI.
Okay, I agree. It could be. All right, finally this week, let's talk a little bit. I just want to touch on it real quick. Conversations about security. I've talked to my clients numerous times about security because everyone is on high alert with all the shit that's going on. And the AV companies are doubling down on the add-ons to their antivirus. So you have antivirus, malware, ransomware, hacking protection. But then it goes on. Virus protection promises, cloud storage, LifeLock, password managers, VPNs, dark web monitoring, stolen wallet protection, social security number alerts, credit monitoring, and the list goes on and on. And the truth is, people, that Windows 10 and Windows 11 has a built-in AV that's fine. Windows has Windows Defender, Windows Firewall, Windows Anti-Ransomware, and it's all fine. All of these things are good.
Here's the thing. If you are a moderately conscious web user, and when I say that, I mean you're not just like the guy you talked about earlier that had however many remote access tools. If you're not that guy, you're not opening stuff. You're not looking at every email and clicking on every link of all the spam that you get.
Look at that.
Then you're fine with the built-in Windows.
Right.
If you're aware that there are bad actors out there and that there's not really a prince in Nigeria who's trying to flee the country and needs your help. Okay. If you're at that level of awareness, built-in Windows antivirus is fine for you.
But again, we've said on the show before, Free, all of these things are good. They're only as good as you are. Like Free was just alluding to.
They're only as good as you are to a point, because if someone, and this is what I actually tell people.
Okay.
No joke. This is what I tell them.
All right.
Do I need to be worried about someone being able to get into my bank account? Well, I'll put it to you this way. You can go and buy every security thing that you want, but if there's someone who legitimately wants to take your money, they will get it. If you are targeted, if you are specifically targeted, they will get you, and there's nothing you can do about it.
I'm going to take it a step further. If you click or download something malicious, then any AV product will think that you know what you're doing.
Well,
like we talked about before, you are the commodity.
But what I'm saying is, even if you do everything perfect.
Oh, right.
If someone has decided to target you, there's nothing that you're going to do.
No.
Provided they're at a level of sophistication with what they're doing. If they know what they're doing, they will eventually get in. Period. That's why the U.S. government gets hacked. That's why the Chinese government gets hacked.
Agreed.
That's why the Russian government gets hacked. If anybody has the necessary protocols in place to keep people out, it's these governments, and they're still getting hacked because there's no. I mean, look at the MGM thing.
Yeah, social engineering. Yeah,
I guarantee you, the casinos have some of the most sophisticated security 100%. On the planet.
Yep.
And they got hacked. Why? Because someone went after them with the intent of getting in.
Correct.
And they found a way to do it.
So, the best course of action: don't click on shady websites.
Yeah.
Don't open email attachment to the links. Go to the source. So if you get an email that says
if you didn't ask for it, if you didn't solicit the information, get rid of it.
If you get an email that says your password's been compromised, go to that website. Don't click on the link. Go to the website and see if your password's actually been compromised, because they will put an alert. In all the years I've been using Gmail, since the initial Gmail, I've got one alert. When I logged in, it had a big red tag on the top that said that my password might be compromised, and I changed it. Don't download random stuff from the first link that pops up on your Google search. And for the love of God, people, get off fucking AOL. Okay? It's a trash heap. Just get off of AOL, get yourself a Gmail account, do whatever you have to do. It's just the way it's going to go. So, all right. That's all the news I have this week. Do you have anything else this week, Free?
Nothing to share with our friends online.
No. All right. That's it for this week. Tense down. Show's over.
So you can find more of this garbage at bgfgonline.com. You can also send us an email with your questions or suggestions at bgfgshow@gmail.com. Find our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Overcast, Podcast, Castro, Castbox, Podchaser, and YouTube. Thank you for listening.